the point too of did they not value that girl's life? I mean, to where they're
Well,
not
that's
really.
kind of where I was going at it.
Yeah,
In that situation, like everybody's life seemed to be devalued,
yeah.
and I mean the girl as well. There's no crazy manhunt. The minute that he kills an officer, like every possible officer in the greater Central Florida was
Looking for him.
was actively on the hunt. There was no other objectives until he was found.
Listen, there was a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. And the first one we could just breeze through, man, was the Markeith Loyd. That trial is he's asking for an extension on the trial, but it was supposed to be like this month. And of course, a brief reminder of what people know: the Markeith Loyd was a huge story in the Central Florida area. It's a guy who got into it with his girlfriend, right?
Yep.
Ended up murdering her, and went on just like this spree and went on the run. And he murdered a police officer at a Walmart.
Yeah, the police officer apparently recognized him.
At a Walmart, right?
Yeah,
And he was already on the run for how long?
It felt like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but it was some time. And so, yeah, she ran into him, kind of knew who he was. He reacted by shooting and killing her. And then, like, a full-on crazy manhunt was on, and he was eventually pulled out of a house and basically beaten up on TV.
Stumped the shit out of.
Yeah.
So he lost the eye.
I mean, it's surprising that they just beat him up. The wild thing about Markeith Loyd is I knew him like in passing, so I casually knew this guy.
Yeah.
He was like he was a Facebook friend, and I just knew him in passing, just being around in the city, whatever. And I also I used to work at that Walmart right there where he murdered that police officer, so I knew that police officer in passing as well. I know
Jus'Black, which Walmart was it?
It was the Princeton Walmart.
Okay.
On John Young and Princeton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually know somebody who like saw him actually shooting the whole shootout and him actually shooting her, and because it happened like almost close to the let out for like when they overnight. It used to be like an overnight shift where they stocked the shelves. And so it's somebody who was kind of sitting in the car waiting for their ride, somebody that carpools to work, and they saw what happened. And so that's probably like the most gruesome part of it is somebody describing him walking up on her and just unloading on her when she was at that point pretty much defenseless and wounded anyway. So like as far as his situation where he ended up allegedly killing his girlfriend. Like I say allegedly because that's a domestic thing that I don't know what happened.
Right.
And he may have had some right to innocence in that, or not innocence, but at least probable cause for him to do what he did in that case. I don't know what happened.
Exactly.
So I don't defend that. But what was hard for me to like sit with is the fact that he walked over this lady who was doing her job.
The police officer.
Who was a cheerful person and was just doing her job and didn't expect to die that morning or that night, evening turned to morning, and just essentially kill her in cold blood.
That's the thing, because I was kind of in his camp up until that point, right? Because there a lot of stories had been released about that relationship between him and the girl,
right?
And about how the girl could have, you know what I mean, really provoked him or even attacked him first. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, since nobody knows what really happened, and that, they had gotten to it before numerous times where she attacked him first, you really don't know what happened, right?
Right. And you never know.
Right. And
we'll never know now.
He gets scared. He goes on the run.
Well,
it provoked him to go to a Walmart when you're fucking wanted?
No, but see, I remember we did a show back at WPRK at Rollins at the time, and we had a guy in who he had actually run into Markeith Loyd during the time that he was supposedly on the run.
Yeah.
And he was telling us he was not necessarily like on the run, hiding out.
Yeah, he wasn't in hiding.
Yeah.
He wasn't in hiding. Like,
yeah. Go ahead, Black. I'm sorry.
I say from what I heard, and this is what I heard. Like I try to separate what I heard from what I have a good estimation about what happened. But he was like still like doing security and still kind of like trying to like make money locally. You know what I mean? If somebody on the run, if I kill somebody and I don't think people gonna believe me, I'm not gonna stay in the city that I'm from and people know me at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes to the point too, where did they not value that girl's life? I mean, to where they're not.
Well, that's
really...
kind of where I was going at it.
Yeah.
In that situation, like everybody's life seemed to be devalued.
Yeah.
And I mean the girl as well. There's no crazy manhunt. The minute that he kills an officer, like every possible officer in the greater Central Florida was actively on the hunt. There was no other objectives until he was found.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Right.
it does beg the question, like, where's the enthusiasm for the original murder?
Yeah.
You know,
Right, and I think that speaks to like we don't have a certain level of like unity or camaraderie like with the police officer. Like I'm surprised that he was able to still have a trial, because once he killed her, and the details that I'm giving you are like on camera, so they've seen exactly how it happened. I was surprised that they let him live. I'm surprised they just gave him a little ass whooping, to be honest.
You know, but I honestly, I did not like watching that video, but I do think that they were very much aware that they were on video at that moment, and
or they would have killed him.
Yeah, if they had some sense that they were not, and when I say video, we're not talking about somebody holding a cell phone. This was like the news, like choppers and whatever,
right.
And they were aware of that, and that's why they did what they did. And basically settled for, you know, kicking his eye out,
beating his ass, right?
Killing him. If there was any possibility that there was no widespread TV level cameras, he dies.
Yeah,
right.
Point blank, period. And now he's asking for an extension on the trial. And I mean, originally he asked to represent himself. I mean, he knows what's going to happen. I think he's just trying to delay it because he's facing death. You know what I mean? A death penalty. So
right.
He knows.
I mean,
you know,
at this point, it kind of bothers me because allowing it to become a circus, and I feel like when and I know he's entitled to due process like everybody else, but at the same time, like it becomes a circus when he's like trying to prolong it and represent himself, and like you facing the death penalty, bro. Like, this is not logical at this point, and obviously he don't think in a logical way because
he doesn't.
Most of this would have not ever happened. I'll reiterate the domestic part of it. We don't know what happened. We don't know what led to that. We just know that somebody ended up dead, and he panicked, went on the run, went into hiding. Didn't turn himself in, didn't face the music, and that in turn led to innocent police getting shot. Who sees a fugitive, so she gotta engage. Like the funny thing about because it's so close to home, the internet and people talking. Why does she engage? She's a police officer. She has to engage this guy, and she was on duty. She was like, you know, what's she supposed to do? But at this point, it becomes a circus when we know at least these shady facts.
Yeah, and like, I mean, do y'all remember like what year did these murders occur? Because I mean, we're 2021. I feel it's got to have been at least 3-4 years.
Yeah, it had to be 4 years. It had to be 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, and again, you haven't had a trial in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Due to these, you know, whatever antics,
antics, COVID. COVID delayed it for a year.
But you were probably 2.5, 3 years in
before COVID even
was
came.
even a thing.
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, that is a travesty.
Yeah, it is.
It's just an abuse of the system, combined probably with inefficiency of the system to not get that done.
Yeah.
Right. I think all of these things that are happening. As far as him not getting a speedy trial, as far as him not feeling safe enough, if he wasn't, let's hypothetically say he was self defending himself with a domestic disturbance, and he ends up killing his girlfriend. Let's say that happened. Him not feeling comfortable in that he'll get a fair shake of it leads him to go on the run. So there's something to be said about us not feeling safe to follow the process. Exactly. Or trust the process, if you will. So this is a sports show.
Agreed.
So and then also, him not being able to trust the process and him being afraid leads to him having a back and forth with the cop. The premeditated standing over her and shooting her and then killing her, that's the part that I have a problem with. But outside of that, we'll put that a pin in that. But him being in jail and being in jail for 4 to 5 years, what happened to the right to a speedy trial? It's like that's all right.
Well, the one thing I would say, though, I mean, like, and I'm not saying this has gone smoothly, but I mean, you have a right to a speedy trial if you want it. But if he's doing things to cause continuance and he's trying to prolong the process, then the speedy trial is not necessarily applicable.
Which is most likely what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's just to make the point that in the event that is not happening and he's not getting a speedy trial, it makes us not trust the process even further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like that's like the Browder case out of New York.
Yeah.
Right. It's
very similar.
And I mean that was a nonsensical backpack stuff, but he sat for 2+ years in jail without a day in court, or any of that.
Right.
I mean, that's absurd.
And one of the most dangerous systems that there is, Khalid Browder didn't have that same right to speedy. So like these things go through a black man's mind when he is faced with a situation where he has to come in contact with law enforcement. Yeah. Is these ideas that we won't get a fair shake.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, what do we do about that?
And just to put an end to this conversation, I don't know if it's going to, but because there was a lot of backlash of people like, oh, they didn't have to do that to his eye, and cricket police, and this is. I mean, what do you think they were going to do when they got a hold of him? I mean,
right.
That's kind of standard.
But like, okay, if you look at it in the sense of like, it is like there's two. If you have an oppressor, the oppressor is the only one with the capacity to change the behavior without revolution.
Right.
And they had an opportunity to peacefully take him into custody and put him through the process of justice. They chose not to.
Right.
That's on them. I wasn't comfortable watching that. I knew what he did. Yeah. And if you want justice, if you want a system that people trust, you don't do that. If you want to continue the bullshit, you take his eye out.
Yeah.
That's a choice the oppressor's making.
I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
But I understand. That's my point.
Right. No, I got you.
Yeah.